Hey y'all, what's going on? What's up, sixth grade? We're gonna go ahead into our next math lesson for the week. Last math lesson of the week. This is Friday's lesson. Then we've finished about half of the geometry unit that we're gonna go through. So today's gonna be area of circles. Make sure that you have something to write with, something to write on. You're gonna want to take a few notes, and you're definitely gonna want to do the practice problems as we follow along. We're going to dive into area of circles. We've done area of parallelograms on Wednesday, area of triangles on Thursday, and we're going to do area of circles today, which is Friday. So let's talk about a circle. You probably already at this point in life know what a circle is. It's round. It has no angles, no specific points on it, no specific straight lines or sides. It's just curved. Very hard to draw, actually. A circle's a circle. Pretty simple shape, just a curve, no points, no angles, no anything like that. And we're going to be finding the area of them today, which is what is the space inside the circle, how much space is inside the circle. So I want you to write down in your notes, this is the equation for area of a circle. So you can write this equation down. You may not understand it, but I'm going to have you write it down. So equation for area of a circle, you got A, area, and I'm going to write with my drawing tool as we talk about this. So we got A, area, equals pi, that's the symbol for pi, times the radius squared. Pi times the radius squared. You might not know what pi is. We'll talk about that in just a moment. You might not know what the radius is. We'll talk about that in a moment. But squared, that little 2, just means you multiply the radius twice. You multiply that radius number twice. So you multiply pi times the radius again. So radius times the radius times pi is basically what's that saying, and that's the area of a circle. So write this down. You're going to want this equation for area of a circle as you do these problems. You're going to want this to help you, guide you, and lead you as you go through these problems. I also want you to write down in your notes these two other details to help you plug through and think about this equation. First of all, I want you to write down that for pi, we're going to use the number 3.14. So we're going to use the number pi, we're going to use that symbol of pi, this symbol right here, to symbolize pi in our equation. When you actually do the math, you're just going to use the number 3.14. There's a lot of other digits to pi, but we're just going to round and use 3.14 for our math. I also want you to write down that for the radius, or r, in your equation, that just means halfway across the circle. Diameter is the full way across the circle. Radius is halfway across the circle. You'll see these lines. They go halfway across the circle. That's your radius. That's the r number we're looking for. So you can write down for pi is equal to 3.14. You can also write, just to let yourself know, that radius, or r, in your equation is just equal to halfway across the circle. Now, this might not make sense to you, this equation. It might seem kind of funky or odd until we actually do some of the problems. So let's try out these problems together. So the problem, find the area. We're going to find the area of this circle. So we've got our circle there in the bottom. So let's bring our equation up here. The area of this circle equals pi times the radius squared. Well, let's write this out. So for starters, we've got pi, 3.14. So that's pi. That's getting started with our equation. We're going to multiply that, because they're next to each other, times the radius. The radius is halfway across the circle. What's the number for halfway across the circle? Well, that's 5 in this case. 5 squared. Now remember that 5 squared just means 5 times 5. So you're going to multiply. When you're squaring a number, you're just multiplying that number by itself. So in this case, 5 times 5. So we're going to bring down here 3.14 times. Then what's 5 times 5? You should already know that math. 5 times 5 is 25. So we got 25. So we've got 5 squared equals 25. 25 times 3.14. We just got to multiply it together now. So you'll do the math. You know how to multiply decimals. It's just like you would normally do them. So you do 25 times 3.14, because that's what we're rounding to for pi. And you would get 78.5. 78.5. You know how to multiply decimals. Just like a normal number, you just carry the decimal and put it in the right place. 78.5. But we're not done. We need to write the unit. We want to make sure that we write the unit. We want to make sure that we have the right units and the right things written down. So in this case, the unit is centimeters, and you're going to put that little 2 like we've been doing to show that it's units squared. because we squared the unit. So it's 78.5 centimeters squared. We multiplied pi times the radius, which is half the circle, and we squared the radius. So we took the radius times pi. We ended up with 78.5 centimeters squared. We got our unit there. All is well. So we're going to find the area of this circle together. This one's a little different. It doesn't give us the radius. It says it's 8 the whole way across. So let's bring in our equation here. Let's write down what we do know. So pi, we know that we're going to need 3.14. We know for a fact we're going to need that. Now, the radius. What's the radius? Well, remember, radius is halfway across the circle. So if it's 8 the whole way across the circle, just divide that by 2. If it gives you a line that runs the whole way across the circle, you don't want the whole way, you just want half. So to get half of it, you just divide it by 2. So what's 8 divided by 2? That's 4. 8 divided by 2 is simple, that's 4. The diameter the whole way across is 8, so you only want halfway across, and that's 4. So 4 squared. And again, remember, 4 squared is just 4 times 4. So what's 4 times 4? That's pretty simple. That's 16. So we got 16 times 3.14 because that's pi. So we squared the 4. That was our radius. We squared it. It's 16 times 3.14. So then we just do the math from there, multiply the decimal, and you end up with 50.24. So 50.24. Are we done? No way, Jose. No way, sir or ma'am. We still have that unit. Now, you might not have remembered this one, but those little marks up in the sky, that just means inches. Remember, that's the symbol for inches, and we got inches squared. Remember, we can write out the abbreviation for inches, which is IN, put the little squared by it. So we multiplied pi. We found the radius by dividing the whole line by 2, so it was 4 squared times pi, so it's 3.14 times 16, and we ended up with 50.24 inches squared. That's our area for this circle. This is a U-try problem. I got the circle there for you. I want you to go ahead and pause the video. Give this problem a try on your own. See if you can find the area of this circle here. By now, you should have paused the video to give this problem a try. Let's walk through it together. So the area of a circle equals pi times the radius squared. So let's do our equation. Pi, 3.14. Got it. We know we bring that number in. The radius is half of the circle. 13 is half of the circle, so 13 squared. Now remember, 13 squared just means 13 times 13. So you take 13 times 13, and you end up with 169. 169. We still got to multiply that by 3.14. So we got pi times the radius squared. We squared the radius. We took 13 times 13, 169. And we're going to multiply that by 3.14. So 169 times 3.14, what we're going to use for pi. And you end up with 530.66. 530.66. And we're all done, right? Nope, not all done. Still need to have that unit. Remember, in this case, it's meters squared. So we got the meters, the little 2 on the top because we combined the unit, we squared them. So it's meters squared. We got our unit. We got our number, 530.66. 530.66. That's our 530.66 meters squared. That's the area of this circle that we found. We ran through our equation. We went through the steps. 530.66 is our meters squared, our area for this circle. Another U-try problem here for you. I want you to go ahead and pause the video, give this problem a try, see if you can find the area of this circle. By now you should have paused the video and given this problem a try. Let's walk through it together. So area equals pi times radius squared. Pi times radius squared. So 3.14, that's pi. We know that that's what we're using for pi. We already know that. Radius. Well, the radius is half of the circle. So would we put 5 in our equation? Is 5 the radius? No, it's not the radius. 5 is not the radius. 5 goes the whole way across the circle. The radius is only half of the way across the circle. So we actually have to take this 5, which is the diameter, the whole way across the circle, and we need to divide it by 2 to find the radius. So 5 divided by 2, that's 2.5. The radius is only halfway across the circle. So you only want to take half of it if the line's the whole way across the circle. You only want half for the radius. So 2.5, that's half of 5 our whole way across. And you're going to square that. So let's do the math for that. 2.5 times 2.5. For that, you're going to end up with 6.25. You take 2.5 times 2.5 and you end up with 6.25. When you square a number, you just multiply it together by itself twice. So 2.5 times 2.5, you get 6.25. And we're going to multiply that by 3.14. So 6.25 times 3.14, which we're using for pi. And you end up with 19. Sorry, that's a bad 9. 19, there we go. A little bit better. 0.625. 19.625. You multiply decimals and numbers with decimals just like you would normal numbers. You run through the multiplication, you carry the decimal, but you multiply them together and you end up with 19.625. Are we done? No. You need to have the unit, which is centimeters. So we have centimeters, and we're going to put our little 2 because it's centimeters squared when we're figuring out the area. The units are squared. So we got our unit, centimeters squared. We found out that this circle, the area was 19.625 centimeters squared. And again, don't forget, it's very important. We want to use the radius. So when you're going to do some of these problems, make sure when you're using the radius, you're only taking half the circle. Some of them, it just gives you the half right away. Some of them, it gives you like this, the full line across the circle. If it gives you the full line, you only want half of that number. The radius is only half of the circle. Make sure you watch carefully for that. Well, that's all the practice problems that we're going to do in this video, all the new content to learn today. So I'm going to have you go ahead and practice some of these on your own. I want you to do problems 4 through 6 and 8 through 13 on page 558. Again, that's problems 4 through 6, problems 8 through 13 on page 558. Make sure you do both sets of problems. They're working with circles. Some give you the radius, some give you the diameter. So there's a little bit of both types. Make sure you do all those sets 4 through 6 and 8 through 13 on page 558 to practice this. Also, one last thing I wanted to mention really quick. There's going to be a quiz on Monday. The quiz on Monday will be 14.1 through 14.3. So it'll be area of a parallelogram, area of a triangle, area of circles. Again, those 3 areas we've been working through. Also, I know this is the math video, but I forgot to mention it in Bible. We're going to have a Bible quiz as well on the person of Jesus Christ and the work of Christ on Monday. It's on LMS, but I forgot to mention it in the Bible video for Friday. So make sure you're ready for the Bible quiz as well on Monday on the person of Jesus Christ and the work of Christ. And again, we'll have a math quiz as well on Friday, 14.1 through 14.3, which is the areas of parallelograms, triangles, and circles. So quiz on Monday. Do these practice problems today, 4 through 6, 8 through 13, page 558. If you need the problems, they'll be up on LMS for you. Otherwise, make sure that you're turning in your work. Keep up the great work. I'm proud of all of you. I'm praying for all of you. Stay strong. We're almost there. Finish strong. Let me know if you need anything, and I'll talk to you all soon.